Hello, everyone. This is Tim, and today Jeannie is allowing me to sit in as guest host on her conversations series. In fact, of course, we're interviewing Jeannie. Me and Tiger are. The Tiger wants to get in on it here. And the thing today is the book on your bedside table. So, Jeannie, what is the book on your bedside table and why? How does it bless you?
Yeah. Well, the book, Tim, by my bedside table is a book called Diamonds in the Dark by Heather Mcgee. Diamonds in the Dark. And this is a true story, a real life story about one woman's faith that carried her through her time going through cancer. Not only once, but twice. She had cancer twice. And I have to say, Tim, that this book is beautifully written. Heather writes very well. It's easy to read and it's captivating as well as you read this book, because she's on this, say, unpredictable journey in her life, and she has this wonderful gift of writing, I think, and she also often writes thought for the day for Livingstone's Church on the internet. She has got a great gift. Now, people often like real life dramas, and this book, Diamonds in the Dark, is a true life drama for sure. And she faces challenges and she hears this scary news. And not only did it affect her, but it also affected her family, her children and her husband. And hearing and knowing this news, Heather had, shall we say, very difficult decisions to make. And there was a lot going on for her about this time as well. And she talks in this book how she had to overcome all the emotional side of having a double mastectomy. Now, that's a big thing for a woman, and having to tell her husband and her family. And in her book, she says this: my heart paused in between beats. Well, that was it. My surgeon had just confirmed what I instinctively knew already. Was this happening? Was it really happening? It all seemed surreal. In the next few moments, I was handed the form to give my consent for surgery. Every woman fears. She goes on to say she was apprehensive, but she signed. And she says there, it was my signature in black and white, done. Big thing. And Heather was concerned because she began to realize, Tim, that she had not directly consulted God about this situation. And then she goes on in her book to tell how she does consult God and how the weight seemed to lift from her when she done this. It seemed to take that burden and strain off of her. She covers things in her book like, can any good thing come from this suffering? And does God allow sickness? And let's face it, people do ask these questions about God, don't they? Does God allow suffering? Why does he allow suffering? And from time to time, people ask those questions. And Heather, she's a minister's wife. She has a sick son, very sick son, and the Lord is just starting to do some work in him. And she addresses all these issues. And she goes on to talk about her recovery and how it wasn't all very easy. You know, there was lots of setbacks on her journey, and these were really frightening, shall we say, life challenges ahead. And she goes on to say how prayer got her through this difficult journey and stage in her life. And she addresses those challenging times ahead and how she had to trust God in her situation. And what I like about Heather in this book is she speaks very openly, very practical as well, and very honest as well. It's not a book, it's not all doom and gloom. In fact, it's quite uplifting in many respects. And I would say anybody who is facing a similar to situation that Heather went through with a double mastectomy, I would say, if you're facing those health problems, this may be a good book to read, as it will help them perhaps on their journey, because it may be a journey they feel alone in. So it will help people for sure. And it is a difficult time. It was a difficult time for Heather. And she called her book Diamonds in the Dark because she said diamonds are like hidden gems in the dark beneath the surface of the earth. And she taught that they are formed under real pressure. And she felt like that, and that they are extremely rare and uniquely cut. And she taught under those circumstances for her, the very process that God was using to make her feel secure in God himself. So it's a really good book to read. And it's a nice, easy book I found to read as well. And that's Diamonds in the Dark by Heather Mcgee.
All good stuff. I suppose that goes right along with the book of Job, right?
Yeah, in fact, Heather does talk about the book of Job, and she addresses the book of Job extremely well too. Yeah, okay. Because we know that Job lost all his children and he went through a terrible time, but we know that God really saw him good in the end. And she addresses all that in her book as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Poor Job. He lost everything but his crazy wife and his three critical friends, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's true, Tim. Very true. Yeah, it wasn't an easy time for Job, for sure. And Heather identifies her situation because she felt like she was in that situation as well. And I'm pleased to report that she is doing really well these days too.
And where can we get her book?
You can buy her book off of Amazon. For sure. It is on Amazon. I have checked that out.
And of course, we'll put links to it in the description and the comments when this video goes up.
Yeah, I'm sure we can, Tim. I'm sure we can for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think I've covered it really. Just that to say that, as I say, she goes through lots of different subjects in the book. For instance, she talks about, as we just said, Job. She talks about getting back to some kind of normality and facing reality. And she goes on about, does God allow sickness and suffering in the lives of his children? She talks about one crisis after another. As I say, her son is very poorly as well. And she talks about the key to contentment in this as well, how the Lord helps her to find contentment in such difficult circumstances. I mean, I find that absolutely amazing. And she talks all about the purpose of the potter. So, and she talks about her husband's perspective as well in this, because it had a great effect on him as well as it did her. So that's about it, really.
Sounds like a very worthwhile book to have by Heather Mcgee. Can you give us the title one more time before we go?
Yes, Tim. Diamonds in the Dark by Heather Mcgee.
Cool. Super cool. Thank you, Jeannie. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Tim.